Happy Holy Week, Good Friday, Resurrection Sunday, all of that stuff. This is truly my favorite time of the year because we are celebrating Jesus. And at the end of the day, out of everything that's been said and done, had it not been for the events that we celebrate this week, none of us could call ourselves Christians. And for that, I am eternally grateful. As always, it's such a pleasure to be here for the Sanctuary Sunday School. I'm going to do something very different this year, even though the lessons are different for the international lesson and the Union Gospel Press lesson. I'm going to teach them in one session for Resurrection Sunday because as I was studying both lessons to do the two videos, I saw the relationship in them that I thought was significant enough to share and combine the lessons. Now, in the international lesson, we are reading from the book of Isaiah. And of course, Isaiah is known as the Messianic prophet because he prophesied about Jesus, who was the coming Messiah thousands of years before he actually came, hundreds of years before he actually came. And so we see here where it talks about he was wounded for our transgressions, he was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement of our peace was upon him, and by his stripes we are healed. Here is where Isaiah is actually giving the account or prophesying what was going to happen to Jesus, the significance of Jesus coming, the fact that he would be born and that he would live and that he would be the sacrificial Lamb of God. So we see this prophecy in Isaiah, and it's such a beautiful thing because I say we live in a wonderful time right now because we have the whole Bible, which means that we can read the prophecy in the Old Testament and see it fulfilled in the New Testament and see all of the things that happened in between leading up to it, which is why I wanted to combine this lesson because I thought it was just a really good opportunity to illustrate how the Bible works together. There are those who say that the New Testament may contradict the Old Testament, and that's absolutely not true. The New Testament confirms and bears out the Old Testament. It fulfills the Mosaic law. So we see here in the Old Testament, which would be the International Sunday School lesson or the Powerful Learning book, that would be where we're talking about Isaiah. And Isaiah is prophesying about what would happen to Jesus and what would be necessary. And that's critical because everything that Jesus went through was necessary according to the Mosaic law. Because according to the Mosaic law, sin was punishable by death. And there was no power in the law to keep you from sinning. The law was the rules and the regulations, right? That told you what to do, what not to do, and what the consequences would be if you were to break the law. So the law had been broken, and that's why Jesus had to come. So when we talk about him coming and him being wounded, see, Jesus was innocent. He had not committed any sin. He was the righteous Son of God, but he was wounded for our transgressions. He was bruised for our iniquity, the chastisement of our peace. So everything that happened, that was prophesied about him, Isaiah was telling the world that there would be hope because the Messiah was coming. And so that's what we're talking about in Isaiah. Now, when we flip over to Luke, we talk about the actual crucifixion. And in Luke, the 24th chapter, I always smile because verses 1 through 6 was actually my Easter speech. I think I actually said it, I recited it a couple years ago, but I'm not going to do that again. But it talks about when the women got to the tomb and they got up on the first day of the week early in the morning and they went to tend to his body. Because remember, he had been crucified, he had been beat, he had been bruised, as Isaiah had prophesied would happen to him. So they went to anoint his body and he was not there. And the angel was there to tell them that what was going on. And when they saw the angel, they were afraid And he told them, he said, why are you here? Don't be afraid. Jesus is risen just like he said he was going to do. So he was crucified and he suffered just as Isaiah had prophesied that he would. And then he rose just like he said that he was and would. And they sent them back to let them know. They went and ran to tell the world, to tell everybody else, the believers, that Jesus was rose, had risen. And that's how I feel this week, why I love Holy Week so much, because yeah, we can tell the good news of the gospel anytime, but this is the Christian's time to shine. It's Holy Week. Jesus rose. He went to that cross. He paid the price for my sins. I wasn't born, but he knew that Val was going to be born and Val was going to be a mess and she was going to need to get saved. So he went to that cross for me. He went to that cross for you. And that is something to celebrate. Then Paul picked it up in the book of Romans. And so I love the way this was set up, which is why I did it together, because you have the Old Testament, right, prophesying about what was going to happen before it happened. Then you have the Gospels telling you what was happening, recording what was happening while it was happening. Then you have Paul in the epistles who is preaching the gospel about what had already happened. You see how God just puts everything together and he sets it all up. And see, that's what we talk about when we speak of infallible proofs. How Jesus walked here on earth. He fulfilled every prophecy about him when he hung on that cross and when he said, it is finished. Dad, Father, I did my job. I did everything I was supposed to do. I crossed every T, I dotted every I. And so I'm done. I'm ready. Mission accomplished. And then it says that into thy hands I commend my spirit. Then he was able to die. And his Father received him. Isn't that beautiful? At the end of my journey, I want the Father to receive me. I don't want to be saying, Lord, I need one more chance. I didn't do no. I want to be able to say, God, I did it. God, I did everything that you asked me to do. I accomplished my mission, my purpose, my goal, and I'm ready. And I want the Father to receive me. And I don't want to put a damper on this lesson, but I couldn't help but think about when my mom was passing. She was on her deathbed bed, and she was literally saying, Jesus, come get me. And she was not afraid, and she was ready. And we were just singing, you know, Jesus, 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 Jesus. We were just singing. And to just see, of course, it was painful and difficult to watch. But man, the peace with knowing that she had accomplished, you know, and again, as I stood there over the gravesite as the casket was lowering, I was able to smile because I'm like, man, she did it. She made it. And that's what Jesus did, and that's our goal, right? That's what it's all about. So that's what Paul was teaching about in Romans when he was telling them about the hope and the justification. All of that was accomplished with Jesus. And because this lesson has been taught over and over again, and almost everybody or most people are going to go to church or are going to church on Easter, I don't condemn that. That's a wonderful thing. Anytime you have a global celebration of Jesus, that's a good thing. We're not going to condemn people for that. This is an opportunity to share the word and really get them to see something, to hear something that makes them keep coming back. So when you look at this lesson, that's why I'm kind of not going verse by verse, verbatim today, because this is the big day. It's a celebration. We go through these lessons every week, and we have these lessons every year, and most of us know the Easter story. You know, he died, and they whipped him all night long. They hung him high. They stretched him wide. He hung his head. We know all of those things, but what does it mean? How do we manifest the power of the death, burial, and the resurrection in our everyday lives? That's what means the most to me. And I just really thought this was a great opportunity to again point out the prophecy about Jesus and the fact that he fulfilled every prophecy. He did everything right. He did everything that he was supposed to do. That's important because, see, I haven't done everything right. I've made a whole lot of mistakes, but Jesus justified me, right? That's what Paul talked about. He justified me and he purchased my salvation, and he is there as a mediator between me and my Father, and he's pleading my case so that I can live and have a right to the tree of life. And when I come to the end of my journey, I can be just like Jesus and I can say, it is finished. God, I did it. God, I made it. And I will be welcome home to the Father. Once again, these are truly the last days. If you watching the news, if you reading the paper, whatever, however you get your news, you will see that these are the last days, and nothing matters more than your salvation right now, more than ever before. Give your life to the Lord. Don't let the Lord's coming and living and dying be in vain. All this prophecy, we got 66 books in the Bible to encourage us, to empower us to live right. All we have to do is follow the example of Jesus. And once again, happy Holy Week, Good Friday, Resurrection Sunday, and celebrate the King with me.